Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest episode of Swan TV. Today is a very special episode of Swan TV because we are joined by one of our very own swans, Oliver Denison. He is here. He is our new business and sales manager at Indigo Swan. And very excited to have him here today. He's going to be talking all about Swan Sustainability. Now, I know what you're thinking. You are asking yourselves, what is Swan Sustainability? Well, Swan Sustainability, in brief, is our venture into the world of sustainable technology, sustainable products for the businesses that we work with and we hope to work with in the future. Obviously, there's a lot of talk out there at the moment in the media around energy prices going up, suppliers sadly going out of business, and the need for us all to be a little bit more sustainable in the race to net zero 2050. So Indigo Swan, being the forward-thinking energy consultant, as we like to think we are, and embracing our energy enthusiasm, as we like to put it, have come up with Swan Sustainability. And I'll pass over to Ollie to introduce himself first, and then we'll get on to talking a little bit more about it. Ollie, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, so thanks, James. I'm Ollie. I'm the new business and sales manager. Been at Indigo Swan for about 5 months now. It is absolutely flown by. I've got to say, though, I was pretty thrilled and happy, though, to join the team. I've known of Indigo Swan for sort of the last 4 or 5 years. Previously, I've worked for a large agricultural cooperative, and actually Indigo Swan have been our rivals. And so to jump across, obviously, is quite a big thing. But actually, since coming on board, I've just been so impressed. Just as a company, how we, support our clients, we do the day-to-day, how organised we are. But again, our market knowledge is second to none. So really sort of enthusiastic and excited to bring Swan Sustainability to Indigo Swan.
Ollie, absolutely. And, delighted to have you on board as a Swan. Delighted that you're here. Like you say, you've worked in the sector for some time. And yeah, lucky to have you here and lucky to have you bring your knowledge on board so that we can launch, Swan Sustainability and the different partnerships that we've got. So on that note, and wasting no time, lots of different technologies out there within the energy space, obviously. But a couple you're going to touch on for us first, and the partnerships that we're looking to make, or we have made and we're looking to launch around the solar and battery element. Two things that some people will have a little bit of knowledge on, maybe more the solar than the battery, I'd imagine. But would you like to shed a little bit more light on what we're looking to do with our clients for solar and battery and our latest partnership?
Yeah, of course. So James, really, we're looking to really support them on the installation and project side. Really, there's a lot of emphasis now on renewables because where energy prices are going, but also businesses who are wanting to go down the green route. So to try and meet these all important net zero goals. So what I wanted to do really was to bring a portfolio to Indigo Swan where we can help support local businesses on their journey to or for installation of solar PV and battery storage. We know these are at the forefront of many businessmen, many leaders' minds. Purely because, yes, the financial return on investment for both technologies is fairly substantial, but of course it does help businesses towards their net zero goals. So solar PV, where do I start? So we've partnered with Power Different, who are a company that I've got previous experience with, working alongside Chris Daines, their managing director. They will be our trusted partner for all solar PV installations. Now, many people will be thinking, okay, so why should I invest in PV? Well, again, everybody knows they want to combat sort of these high energy costs, but also you want to really be doing your bit for the environment. So, by investing in green technology, it's going to save on being reliant on a brown contract. It's going to help, obviously, your business generate pure green electricity. But essentially, it's going to get you on your net zero carbon journey. With this portfolio then, so what we're aiming to do is we're aiming to support clients. So from the general assessment phase, so, okay, I'm interested in solar PV, but is it viable for me? So what we can do at Indigo Swan is we can first look at your existing contract. We can then analyze that and also look at your connectivity to the grid. So do you have a current transformer? If so, what's your maximum demand like? We can then do a feasibility study. So we can come to site and we can look at actually the physical components. Certain machinery that you may be using, where that current transformer is. What is the pitch like for solar PV? Is solar PV viable for your business? So we can do sort of an on-site assessment, and then we go back working with Power Difference, and we put together a 25-year ROI, so return on investment across that period. Generally, technology is guaranteed for around 20 years. So what we will do is we will try and show, obviously, that value for a specific period. At the moment, I'm pleased to say that I'm seeing returns on investments at about sitting around year 4 and year 5. So it's very appealing, extremely appealing.
Now is the time, Ollie. Now is the time. You know,
yeah, now is the time. I mean, look, we all know the technology's been around for sort of 10 years. When it first came out, obviously, there was an element of rogueness to it. We saw lots of companies sort of come to light, lots of new entities. Many obviously went under. They went bust fairly quickly. It was down to a number of factors. Some people say poor management. Others say, oh, well, the pieces of kit were too high. A lot of businesses didn't want to invest in them purely because of the cost at the time. We know that the cost of kit has come down significantly. In some aspects, on some projects, nearly half. And of course, there's a number of reasons to make it more viable now. So sort of export tariffs have been through the roof. So if you're using your energy, so you're using your system to combat on existing generation, you can sell excess revenue back to the grid in the form of a power purchase agreement, which is obviously something we'll touch upon a little bit later. But there's plenty of options now that make it viable for you to be going down this particular route.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, you know, like I said, I'm very proud as a company, Indigo Swan, embracing this type of technology, like I say, embracing this partnership with Power Different, you know, ultimately going out to our clients and saying, use less energy. There's a lot of consultants in our space who would say use more because we get paid more. Whereas, you know, for us, it's the right thing to do. We want to support our clients in the wider, you know, not just Norfolk, but the wider country with being more sustainable and saving energy and saving money where they can. So very proud of this partnership. So following on from that, Ollie, that's the solar side of things. More details, obviously, of that offering will follow over the coming weeks and days. Talk to me about the battery side of things. Talk to me about that, and what are we looking to offer, you know, our client base there with help on the battery side of stuff.
Of course. Okay, so batteries are going to play a crucial part going forward, with obviously the huge investment in renewable technology that we're seeing. So solar, hydro, wind. Essentially, batteries are going to play a key part in balancing the grid. So, you know, also a lot of companies are looking at, there's a number of different agreements from firm frequency response and sort of more complex areas around there. So lots of incentives around that particular technology. But in theory, what a battery will do is that will harness any generation. So from that wind, hydro, or solar, and essentially that will allow you to use that particular energy at a later date. So for instance, in the summer, obviously you're going to be using your solar PV, and you're going to be benefiting quite heavily. So that daily generation, if you are a user that uses a significant amount of power at night, what a battery will do is allow you to then harness that energy and essentially use that at night, so to avoid any grid cost. Yes, we know obviously night rates generally cheaper, but essentially if you're a manufacturing company that's going to be using it in, you know, significant amounts, then essentially a battery may be viable for you. They're also going to play a purpose with vehicle to grid. So that is something that's very much on the horizon. And again, we will talk about over sort of the next 6 months. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people out there who want to sort of learn more about what's going to happen, because EV, again, that's going to be significant. But in theory, yes. So really, for me, it's about having an offering on the solar and on the battery front and being there. So, you know, if there are any businesses with any Q&As, please obviously feel free to come to me.
Perfect, Oliver. Perfect. So much there. And like I say, yes, anybody watching this who wants to know more about either battery or solar, please do get in contact with Ollie or directly through Indigo Swan at hello@indigoswan.co.uk. First email plug there. So moving on, something very closely linked to this is the PPAs. We blooming love some initials in the energy industry, don't we? Some analogies and stuff, but PPAs. Talk to us about them, what they stand for, Ollie, and how we can help.
So PPA is a power purchase agreement. So really, if you think of your general contract, you'll have your import contract. You'll be purchasing energy on a yearly basis. Essentially, this is the opposite. So this is actually selling excess energy back to the grid. So actually, with a nominated supplier, you will sell any excess generated energy. So using your asset generator, so your solar PV, your wind turbine, your hydro. And obviously, you're going to get a revenue for each pence per kilowatt that's sold back. So I was always keen. So when I did join Indigo Swan, I was keen to push PPAs because really, they're at the forefront of a lot of generators' minds, because when they do obviously invest in the technology, a lot of people aren't going to be using it just to combat their existing usage. A lot of people have actually invested in that technology to sell back to the grid. They'll have it as a future investment for themselves. They'll know it generates green energy, but essentially it's going to support obviously the UK with its ambitions towards these net zero targets. So PPAs are crucial. And what we've done is we've actually partnered with 2 PPA providers, James. So we've partnered with FNS Energy,
we have.
who are based in Chelmsford, and also Zigo, who a very, very fancy name, who again are based in London. And the reason for this is what I wanted to do was have 2 separate providers, one who would cater for small generators. So any sort of generator who's selling back to the grid under if they're solar, under 250 kilowatts. And then for large scale generators, so solar farms as such, and wind farms who want to sell back to the grid. And FNS Energy, so I've got obviously dealings with them, dealt with them for sort of the last 3 or 4 years. And really they're orientated towards supporting smaller assets. So their niche is offering competitive pricing for any asset, say for instance under that band of 250 kilowatts. And what I've always been impressed with, so when I've worked with Steve Funnell and Emily Stevenson, there is the service element, because again, this is a field that's relatively new to a lot of people. People want to know that they're getting good value for money, and so I've always felt that FNS do focus quite heavily on that service element, so something that's crucial within the energy sector. And for Zigo, so what I like about Zigo is they are orientated to really supporting large-scale generators, but they are one of the first PPA brokers. So again, if you think Indigo Swan as a sort of an import broker, essentially they're one of the first PPA brokers to come to market. And actually, back in the day, sort of 3 or 4 years ago, when I was dealing with some large-scale export, I was actually crying out for a company like Zigo, because the market was very limited at the time.
Yeah.
And they work with a number of trusted providers. They can advise you accordingly on which sort of agreements are suitable for yourselves. They also do corporate PPAs. Again, that's something that we'll touch upon going forward. But really, very, very happy to have Zigo come on board as well, James.
Yeah. Perfect, Ollie. And yeah, great. Lots of stuff to do around the PPA side of things. And again, very much encourage people to get in touch with us should they want some help. So moving on from that world, we now move on to something that everybody sees every day. It's in the papers everywhere. It's in the news. You see them on the roads. Electric vehicles. Are they worth it? Are they not worth it? We're not here to debate that. What we're here to talk about, though, is if you have an electric vehicle, or you have a fleet of electric vehicles, or you're thinking about getting some electric vehicles, then we want to hear from you, because we're also looking at some EV vehicle charging points, aren't we, Ollie? And how we can help people maybe have them installated into their properties, whether they're property companies, education, manufacturing, whatever it might be. We might be able to help them with that as well. Yeah,
this is something we're definitely seeing more and more of. Obviously everyone's trying to do their bit for going green. There's a lot of companies out there who are looking at sort of green fleets, but also mainly we're seeing companies for their pool cars go for or sort of test the water with 1 or 2 electric cars. And so the question is, a lot of people have on their minds, is it feasible? Okay, I'm going to pay a heavy cost for a vehicle. How beneficial is this going to be? A lot of the time, obviously, it's about doing your bit. So obviously the financial aspect at the moment, like anything with new technology, obviously, if you look at a new vehicle, it's going to be substantially higher than probably what electric vehicles will be in sort of the next 5 to 10 years. Because A, enhancement on technology, but B, obviously more people will be opting. So again, that will obviously drive down the costs, as it won't be such a niche. But yeah, so what we're doing is, so we've partnered with Good Energy to provide EV points for new and existing clients of Indigo Swan. EV points, again, you say, for instance, you invest in a new car. The first thing is, well, how do I go about getting a point? Because it's an installation. Who do I contact? Are they reputable? What's the cost going to be? Are there any grants? And I'm pleased to say yes, there are some grants. 2 schemes. There's the electronic vehicle home charge scheme and the workplace charging scheme, essentially set up to provide up to £350 per point for meter that's invested in. So with Good Energy, I'm pleased to say they will obviously accept anyone who does opt for this scheme. And obviously Indigo Swan, we're going to be in a position to actually offer some guidance as well of how you go about this. So please, obviously, if anyone does have any other questions in relation to the schemes, we're here, obviously ready to help. But yeah, so what obviously, by offering charge points, really for me, it's about providing that support, because a lot of people say to me at events, say to me on a daily basis, how do I go about this sort of thing? So for me, it's hand holding, and that's from initial contact all the way to the commission and the asset. So like solar, like battery, we will obviously support you on your journey.
Absolutely. Ollie, it's perfect. So yeah, with the solar, the battery, the charging points, that there's going to be numerous different finance options, different grants, things like that. We have some more information to come on some of that sort of stuff. But also, if you do want any help in the meantime on how you maybe can finance these types of equipment, types of technology, then also do get into contact with us and get in contact with Ollie, because we'd be happy to help. And also point you in the right directions of grants, where everyone likes a few £3 from now and then, don't they? So have a look at that. The last thing we want to talk about today is the Energy Manager and how we've helped with that. It's a service that we have offered for a little bit of time, but again, tying it into the Swan Sustainability piece and the offering that we've got for our different partners. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Energy Manager piece?
Yeah, and this is a key part, I think, because look, it's okay investing in sort of the hard asset, so that the solar, the EV points, the battery systems, but actually with the outsourced energy manager option, what we'll do is we will actually provide sort of one-to-one guidance for your specific business. So leaders out there, people who are part of the leadership team, how do you conduct yourselves and your workforce around being more sustainable? A lot of people now, look, they're saying, okay, we want our business to be going down this route, which is a very good thing to be doing. But the question's like, how do you do it? How do you go about it? How do you influence your team? And so what this outbound manager will do is they will come in and really they'll do an assessment. So looking at sort of how you conduct your business. Yes, they'll look at things such as your import contracts, make recommendations on technologies. They'll look at sort of efficiencies as well on different appliances. But they'll also look at how you structure your business. So, if we take, for example, business meetings, if you do a lot of business meetings a year, can you and your team now, with the use of Zoom and Teams, can you be more orientated towards, using these other routes rather than having to drive sort of 300, 400 miles to see clients? Particularly, obviously, if it's only for a short catch up. They'll also look at, employees, how they, say, for instance, when they, buying their lunches, they'll say, okay, are you using sort of cutlery that's or you chucking, you purchasing sort of takeaway cutlery and then, plastic forks and bits and pieces, and, on a weekly basis, why are you not buying your own? Why are you not having your own cup, reusable cup? Everyone likes coffees.
Gets all that all the time.
Paper cups. You see as well when you walk into some of the major coffee labels, you'll see reusable cups all about, and they're all offering sort of double stamps and incentives to go down this route. Right. So yeah, so really it's about sort of looking at your workforce and saying, okay, what can they do? And so they'll do a full analysis of absolutely everything. If you say for instance you're somebody who needs to work for SECA or have an ESOS audit, they'll also carry that out for you as well and support you basically throughout the paperwork side of it, because as we know that can be fairly tedious. So they'll look at this from all angles, and essentially, as I said, it is about that personal support.
Absolutely. Ollie, I'm excited. It's great. I think for us as an energy consultant, energy broker, really grabbing hold of the sustainability piece, launching Swan Sustainability, from solar to PPAs to EV charging points to, an in-house energy manager. I just think, for me, it's a very exciting time. I think it's something that, we should be doing. We're not waiting around until we have to do it. I think, Indigo Swan looking at it and saying, yeah, we want to help our clients be more sustainable. We want to help on the race to net zero 2050. We shouldn't be waiting to 2050. We need to be doing it now. We need to help people, save money, to be more sustainable. And I'm very excited for us to be launching this Swan Sustainability piece today and over the coming weeks ahead. I have one last question for you, because you are a Swan and you are on Swan TV. As I ask all the Swans that come on Swan TV, I asked them to rank these 5 potatoes in order. So this will be the hardest question I give you today, Ollie.
Go on.
Of these 5 types of potato, from worst to best,
yeah,
how would you rank them? Mash, jacket, fried, boiled, and roast. So of those, what would be the least favourite?
I'm jotting this down. Just say them again. Mash, jacket,
fried, boiled, roast. It's a question I ask every Swan.
Okay, from the worst then. So I'm going to go for boiled.
Absolutely,
even though I like boiled potatoes.
Absolutely standard.
I'm then going to go jacket.
Okay.
I'm then going to go mash.
Okay.
I'm then going to go fried. And then, of course, roast potatoes. Because let's be honest, who doesn't love a roast potato?
Roast at the top, mate. I'm not sure if I've had a roast at the top, but it might be. So there you go. But Ollie, I love it. You've got to rank your potatoes when you come on Swan TV and you're a Swan. So everyone listening, thank you ever so much for listening. Thank you for joining us on this Swan TV, launching Swan Sustainability. We really hope everyone's found it interesting. There's loads more content on our website, www.indigoswan.co.uk. Go and check it out under the Swan Sustainability page. Look out for more content coming out over the coming days and the coming weeks. We've got Swan TVs with all the relevant partners, a couple of those between now and Christmas, and more going into the new year. But I'm excited about this. I think it's the right thing to be doing. I think, everybody should be embracing the opportunity to be more sustainable, to be greener. And we hope that a lot of our clients and prospective clients come along with us on this journey for a better and greener future, as they say. So very excited about it. Ollie, thank you for joining me.
Thanks again,
if you want to get in
James.
contact with Ollie, you can find Ollie on LinkedIn. You can email Ollie at oliver.denison@indigoswan.co.uk, or you can email us as a team at hello@indigoswan.co.uk, and we'll be happy to help. But for now, Ollie, thank you for joining me.
Thanks again.